Manila.knxn.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the #1 podcast in the Philippines. And once again, your boy Calvin Cashel is in the house. But guys, before we start, I'm gonna ask you a favor, right? I barely ask you guys this. I would appreciate if you subscribe because YouTube notified me that many of you guys are watching the video and you guys are not subscribing to the channel. So I would appreciate if you subscribe. Drop a like on this episode or in all the episodes that we have out on the channel as well. And don't forget to share the videos with your friends, with the whole barangay. Have you done it? It's like, it takes like a second. Have you subscribed? Okay. Thank you so much for subscribing to the #1 podcast in the Philippines. And here on the studio, round of applause to our guest.
Let's go.
I have my brother, Charles. Guys, you gotta know how to pronounce it, okay? Charles. Did I pronounce it right?
That's correct.
How are you, brother?
I'm good.
Happy to see you once again.
Yes.
How is everything, my brother?
Everything's been great. It's my first time back in the Philippines after 2 years of moving away, and everything's been great.
And you came on a rainy season.
Yeah, half summer and half rainy
Rainy
season.
season, yeah?
Spent my birthday here in like May, so that's always
With
a
the family.
thing. Yeah.
It was like your first time to spend your birthday here?
I always spend my birthday here for some reason.
Oh, yeah?
So because May is always the fiesta season.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Like
That's
a
true.
lot of the main festivals is around May.
Okay. Guys, by the way, my guest today is Charles. He is American Filipino.
Yes.
Did they say right?
Yes.
Okay. I think there's a term that you guys use. Philam?
Phil-am.
How do you say it?
Phil-am.
Phil-am. Sana all.
Or if you come back from the States and on the street, they call you Amboy, which is American boy.
American boy.
Yeah.
Amboy.
Amboy.
Oh, okay. So, brother, let's just, talk, a bit about you. Where were you born? Where were you raised?
Okay, so I was born and raised here in Manila, born in the city of Manila many years ago. Like I
You don't
probably- yeah, no, but I'm old. Like I turned 45 this year, so 79. So it was a totally
What you
different time.
eating? What's your skincare?
My skincare.
You look good, brother.
Since I moved to Vegas, I started using more moisturizer. That's it. Like for some reason, like the air over there in the water, like every time you shower, it makes it dry. So just moisturizer.
Bro, you look younger. If you could tell me you were like 20 plus, I would believe it. Guys, and I'm pretty sure you guys as well in the comments below. Yeah, bro, you were saying?
I think even here in the Philippines, especially like if you're exposed to the sun all the time, you gotta have like some sunscreen, moisturizer. Yeah.
I don't really use it. I believe like us black, we don't need it. Nobody's just like that.
Same here. I'm brown. Like I could tolerate the sun.
Yeah, but that's just a cap. I definitely need it because I had a worse experience when I went to Cebu. Me and Tenes,
to get sunburned.
we did not use. The sunscreen or sunblock. We didn't use it. We look like, brother. You have no idea. It took like a month.
Yeah, I'm still discolored, bro.
And
Yeah, I was wearing a tank top, dude, and the thing burnt like, oh my god, it was so bad.
Yeah, mine
So
too. Mine
ugly.
too. Yeah.
I've learned that a long time ago.
So you don't do it anymore.
Yeah, no. On the beach, I still get sunburned, but for some reason, I only get sunburned in Batangas.
Batangas is hard, brother.
Always.
Batangas is hard. I love Batangas though. Do you know I lived in Batangas?
Yeah.
I lived in Batangas for 5 years.
Yeah.
That's like my house. So you were born here in the Philippines, raised here, and when did you go to the States?
Moved to the States when I was 18. This was 1997. So it was a great time for the US at the time. And I moved in the Bay Area in California. And this was almost at the infancy of World Wide Web. So a lot of the companies that kind of changed the world were happening at the time. Yahoo, like Netscape, AOL was happening at the time, eBay, PayPal. And I was just fortunate to be in that
Industry.
environment.
Yeah. So, like, you went by yourself or you went with, like, with your
whole
family?
family.
With your family, yeah.
Through my grandpa and my mom. We actually waited like almost like my whole life at that point for our petition. Took like maybe 15 years.
For you guys to get me to the States.
Yeah.
So as a kid, you were growing up here, but you had an idea that, okay, when I turn this age or when anytime soon, I'm going to leave the Philippines and go to the States.
Yeah, there was that, but we weren't really
Focus on
thinking.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, focusing on it. It just happened. Then when it happened, like, oh, we're like going.
Going, yeah.
Yeah,
And okay, you went, that was 1997.
97.
So you stayed there. And when was it like, after that time, how long did it take for you to come back to the
To
Philippines?
come back. So a lot of things happened
Yeah.
when I came to the States.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like 18. I was already going through college here in Manila.
Yeah, because
And-
you guys only had until grade 10 that time, right?
Yeah, it was like grade 10. So 6 years of elementary and 4 years of high school.
High
Then
school,
you
yeah.
go to
College.
college by the time you're 16, 17. And then I had to leave all that, like move. But it was exciting too. I didn't really have an idea what California would be like.
Yeah.
But as soon as I get there, it was totally different from what you watch from the movies and stuff. Like, oh, this is how it is in San Jose, California. And then that certain age, for some reason, 17, 18, 19, like towards the end of your like teenage years, those are always like high pressure,
Yeah.
especially from like family and stuff where you're like, oh, like you got to do something with your life already. You got to pick your
career.
like career choices. Like, do you want to go to school? What do you want to do for work and stuff like that? But I felt like all those kind of like, help, like going through that experience. Like it was for me being in college here in the Philippines already, and the college system in
the
the
States.
USA, it's totally different. So I couldn't even go to school as soon as I
Arrived there.
arrived in California because I had to establish a 2-year residency in the state to get the state rate. Otherwise, I'm paying like super expensive rates just to go to school. So when that wasn't gonna happen like within the 2 years, so I was just working. But I worked, like I was into music, so I worked like at a record store. Like my first job in the US like, was at some McDonald's, so I experienced all that too.
So it was like the American dream then.
Yeah, I mean, trying to get there. But like
Yeah.
when we were younger, it was like super simple. Like you worked and you just wanted to save enough. Like maybe at the time, like save $5,000 to get a car.
Yeah.
It was so simple back then, and it was a time when Hondas and like fixing up your car was super popular in California. So that was the culture that I stepped into, like fixing up cars, the internet. It was all new, and all the 90s music. So it's such a great time growing up.
Right. So imagine like, okay, you went to the state. I mean, it's like 18 years old. You kind of had an idea on what was life like. Here, okay, you live in your country and then you're going to a foreign country, right?
Yeah.
Was it like hard for you, a teenager, to adjust yourself, like I mean, to the American culture?
I mean, at some point, there's some challenges, but I don't think it was hard because we already have like a lot of cousins that we would hang out once we got to the States. And then the internet really helped for me to keep up with what's happening here in the Philippines. Like say, like if I'm into music and all like the bands and everything, there was like a site that was started like like around that time 97 called filmmusic.com. So like everything that was
Download
happening
it
in
from
the
there.
scene, you could read it up over there. Like it was like a music blog. So I wasn't really like missing out as far as the news, but it's more of like just being here. Then at the same time in California, there's big Filipino communities. So you could watch your Filipino channel and there's Filipino stores just around the
So
block.
you don't get homesick that much.
Yeah, you don't really get homesick that much in California.
In California, yeah. So okay, like an example, you were like talking about music. So when you got there, I mean, get it like live with the car. Let me work, get some money. To buy my first car. As a teenager, we all dreamed that. We all wanted that. And then you were like, talking about music. You decided to do music. Like it is something that you push through, or what?
Yeah, I'm like I was already like collecting a lot of music before I even like moved to States. Like a lot of my money, like just my allowance and everything, I would
Like a
buy
DJ.
cassette tapes. No, just even like just collecting music, just loving music, collecting music, and reading about like your favorite bands, favorite artists. I was already so into that. But once I got into the States, so in the Philippines, I was more into the local stuff. As soon
Yes,
as
yes.
I got to the States, I had a lot of catching up, but I soaked it all up. Like we had like a great library system, and you're able to borrow like
The CDs, yeah.
every CD, and like I'll borrow like stacks and stacks of CD and listen to music every day. Same, I was working in like a record store, like a CD store, and I get the CD a week ahead of everybody. So I'm like
So yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
collecting music. Like all my money, I think I didn't save enough for my car because I was just buying music.
The CD, yeah, yeah. Was
Yeah.
it expensive by that time?
It was already expensive. $15 for a CD. Yeah,
Because CDs were like new, yeah, at the
yeah,
time. So
yeah. Still
it's kind of what
new.
we had, CDs.
I mean, there were still tapes
Yeah.
back then, but it was like really like CDs already. But if you were trying to save money, you'd buy the singles,
Mm.
right? Like CD singles. So I wasn't even like thinking about like I'm a DJ now, but like I wasn't really thinking about like being a DJ at the
By that
time.
time, yeah.
I was already kind of like hanging out at parties. So in the Bay Area, like DJing is big, and I didn't realize that many years after I came back in the Bay Area that it was such like a hub for DJs where like a lot of like the famous DJs around the world, like
They
turntablists,
came from. Yeah.
they came from that scene, like just doing house parties and weddings and school parties.
And okay, when did you decide like, okay, I'm gonna be fully DJ? I'm gonna okay. Why do I ask that? Because you live in the Philippines. You're gonna. I mean, I think as a parent, like as a parent, they kind of like have a different vision.
Yeah.
Because like sometimes our parents they have different vision than us, right? So okay, I want my son go to the States, find a job, finish college. I don't know, be a doctor or whatever, trying to find a
Exactly.
job, and then here you come. Okay, I want to be a DJ.
Yeah.
What was the reaction of the whole family knowing that you left the Philippines? I mean, going to the States.
Going to the States. So I wasn't going to school, but then I was trying to find myself. I was so into music. Then I think a turning point for me was buying my first drum machine. So, like I wanted to buy, like I was always going to the store, like playing with keyboards, and I was playing guitar. But then I got bored playing the guitar. So I'm like, oh, let me try something. So I discovered playing with the drum machine. Then kind of naturally, I'm like, oh, I kind of like doing this. So I was just like doing that almost every day. Then I was looking at like magazines and stuff like, and there were like music schools like being promoted. At the time, like you go to like a music production school to like do recordings, work at a studio and stuff. That's when I realized like, oh, like okay, like
Can do
I
this.
think I want to do that. So I wrote a letter to my dad who was staying in the Philippines at the time. He didn't end up going with us in the States, and I wrote him like because I was in the engineering track here in the Philippines, and I told him I was 18 at the time. I still remember it. I wrote him like I think I finally found like what I want to do, like, and it's this audio engineering. You know, it's then I kind of made the thing with like, oh, it's not the engineering that we're used to in the Philippines, like civil engineering or electrical engineering or computer science, but like, oh, it's still engineering. I tried to justify it.
Yeah,
Yeah, like it's still engineering, but it's just something different. So I didn't really like get like a reaction or anything. The thing that really shocked everybody was when I decided that I wanted to be in the military. So like after like a year or so, like a year and a half, I decided I wanted
To be to join the
I
military.
wanted to leave home already, which is like a common thing in the US. Like when you turn 18, you want to be independent. You're kind of tired of the pressures from home. Like, I'm old enough, I'm working, I want to leave. And one of those things is always like going to the military. So I joined the US Navy, like, maybe like, 18 months after, because I was getting recruited anyways. Like as soon as you turn 18, 17, 18 in the States, there's always like military recruiters going to your school.
That's for everyone.
For everyone. So even like when you turn 18, you sign up for like a draft, like, just in case there's a war, you get to serve your country.
Do people do the kids or like, they don't know, teenagers in this case, do they have a choice to say, oh, I don't want it, I want it?
You have to sign up when you're 8. Once you turn 18, you have to sign up to be eligible for the draft.
What if you don't want?
It's kind of like a felony, I think, maybe like something.
Something like that. I mean, they don't force you. It's only like when there's a war and you have to.
Yeah.
You're obligated to serve your country.
Because I know, like in some other countries, like from what we hear,
It's voluntary.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
You have to do your time.
But I think is it South Korea, if I'm not mistaken?
South Korea, Japan.
It's like a must,
Yeah,
right?
it's a must.
It's a must.
Yeah. You don't have to do it when you're 18, but like you have to do it at some point.
Oh yeah, back home we don't do it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's good or bad.
I mean, even here in the Philippines,
yeah, I think
at that age we were doing like something called ROTC here. So you kind of
and this shoot, I forgot right now. But guys, please remind me, NCPA, something like that. Yeah, I did that.
But yeah, when I was doing ROTC here in the Philippines, I had no idea, like, like I didn't really like, the physical stuff and being in the military, like that wasn't a thing. So I did the military thing in
the States.
In the States as an act of rebellion. I just wanted to be out of the house already. And
So your idea was just like, I want to be out of the house.
I want to be out of the house. So, and like being in the military, like you go to military school, you go to your boot camp, then you go in the U.S. military.
You don't stay home.
Yeah, so you don't get to stay at home. Like they send you to boot camp, then they send you to school to whatever job you're gonna do in the military. In the Navy, I happened to be in the engineering track as well, so I became like an electrician in the Navy. So I went to boot camp, then I went to electrician school, then I get sent to Japan. Actually, I picked to be in Japan.
Okay.
So it's almost like going to college too. So you go to school, but then at that point in the U.S. Navy, at least, I don't know if like a lot of the guys that watch this, there used to be U.S. bases here in the Philippines, and they left in like the early 90s. So there was like an air base and a U.S. Navy base. So we were lucky when I joined that there were a lot of Filipinos in the U.S. Navy. So like my class, in the engineering class, like maybe like 1/4 would be Filipino.
Filipinos.
So we were like, there's pressure for some of us, like especially like say if they're from Cebu and they don't speak Tagalog, or they only speak English. So we still kind of had to adjust.
Yeah.
But it was so cool, like going through that with Filipinos. And by the time we were supposed to pick where to go, we just decided like let's all go to Japan. It'll be super cool. I wanted to go to Hawaii though,
Because it's nearby, yeah.
but Hawaii wasn't like on the pick. Like everybody loves the Philippines, I would say.
Would you choose the Philippines by that time? No.
If there was if there wasn't a base
there was no
anymore.
base,
But
okay,
I think if there was a base, of course I would have chosen the Philippines. Right? Everybody wanted to go to the Philippines. I would say like if you ask a survey from all the servicemen like back in the day, what place they wanted to go to be assigned,
Philippines.
definitely Olongapo or Clark. Like it's so much fun. Like especially back in the day. Like,
For how long you stayed in Japan?
I stayed in Japan for 3 years. So after school, like we got to pick. All my friends were like, "Oh, let's all go to Japan." Then we all got to go to Japan. So by the time I went to Japan, like all our friends are there too. And it was like this was like 99 in Japan. So for 3 something years we were in Japan, and Japan was like a totally different one. Even up to now. But then coming from the Philippines to the States, then going to Japan, totally different world from like the two things that I've kind
You
of like,
haven't.
no.
So you haven't like experienced. How do you say it? I kind of have a war. You haven't experienced a war.
At the time, it was peacetime.
It was a peacetime.
But later on in my story, like 9/11 happened.
Oh yes, 2024, right?
2001.
Yeah.
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 So,
2001. Yeah. So.
yeah. So yeah, went to Japan. That's how I kind of got exposed into the DJ thing.
So when it happened, You were in Japan.
I was in Japan. I had a friend. I'm gonna shout him out. DJ Wrist. He was from Southern California. We went to school together in the Navy. He was an electrician as well, and he knew I was like making beats when we were in school. I'm like, oh, then he was like, oh, you make beats? Like you should try this, check this out, and showed me like videos of turntablism, like a lot of like the popular DJs at the time, DJ Qbert, the Beat Junkies. And but at the time, like I was already into like the Beastie Boys and hip hop. Like I already got caught up with that music when I moved to the States. But he's the one who's like check
Introduced.
these out. Like
Yeah.
it's more underground, but then I kind of fell in love with it. And even like our first nights in Japan. So by the time we got to Japan, I was like maybe already 19, and we
Super
were
young.
we were. What's crazy is in the US, you're not allowed to drink it until you're 21. In Japan,
You can.
you can. So as soon as we landed, we hit the bars. That's the first. That's the first thing we did. We hit the bars. Then we saw a DJ. We befriended him. Filipino DJ, great Filipino DJ. So at the time, a lot of entertainers coming from the Philippines go to Japan. Like it's either be a dancer or like a singer, bands, DJs. They were recruiting them from the Philippines. There was like an era.
So there was like the community there
Yeah.
was huge then.
There's a big Filipino community too in Japan at the time. So we were like, oh, okay, this is cool too. So you're kind of like experiencing three different cultures at the time. Like I'm in I'm in the US
American.
base. There's the American culture. There's the Japanese culture. We're trying to learn. Then there's still that Filipino
The
community.
Philippine. And brother, let me just get back at 9/11, right? When 9/11 happened, you were in Japan.
I was in Japan.
So, okay, what was like for you guys being an American and not being in a country, like anything could be happening, like a war could be happening.
Yeah.
So it's like, do they tell you guys, okay, guys, get ready anytime soon, we're gonna fly you guys home? And then how was it? Like,
Yeah. I mean, prior to that, there was like a ship, like maybe a few months before that, a ship was bombed in Yemen, USS Cole. And some of our friends were like, oh, shit,
we're going.
we might go to war. So by the time we got back to Japan from that trip, everything was like high security alert level already. Then 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
Then it was all out, we're going to war. I didn't expect to go to war during my 4 years. Like I only stayed in the Navy for 4 years. I didn't expect it. But at the same time, I don't know how to feel about it anymore. Because there's, all these like whatever conspiracy theories and stuff like of what it meant. But at the same time, I do feel proud serving the country. We're like, okay, like we did our thing. Like my ship, it was like the USS Kitty Hawk. We were like the first ones to go
To Japan.
we were forward deployed in Japan. So we're like the first ones assigned to go near Afghanistan to look for Taliban and look for like Osama bin Laden at the time. We were like the ship. That
And
was
you
there.
went to?
Yeah, we were at sea. I was on an aircraft carrier, but we didn't bring any of our jets or planes. We brought the special forces, Navy SEALs, and the Army Rangers.
Were you scared? Just
No, I mean it was scary for everybody, and even in the within the military, like I swear, like people were crying, like, "Oh, we're going to war," because we didn't expect it. But at the same time, when you're in the military, that's you kind of swore in to
fight for the country.
Yeah, to fight for the country and do your service. If that's what it takes, that's what it takes. And being there is like like I probably shouldn't say it, but like it was pretty chill. Like when we were there, because we weren't like doing our regular flying planes and stuff. Like a lot of the work happened at night when the Navy SEALs, like special forces, would fly into Afghanistan and pick up enemies. And that was most of the mission.
The mission.
And what's the hardest part is telling my newlywed wife at the time, because we got
That's
yeah.
okay.
So I,
Woo!
so I went when I was already in the military. I reconnected with somebody that I knew back then and became my girlfriend,
A Filipina.
Filipina.
Okay.
We reconnected, and next thing you know, I'm on vacation to the Philippines in 2001, and shortly we got married. Um, but then a few months after that, 9/11 happened, and I had to tell her we might be going to war. We're going somewhere. I don't know where we're going. Even if I know, I can't tell you.
Yeah.
You might not hear me
For
from me for like a few months. I
For
don't know
months, yeah.
for how long. So no letters, no phone calls, no internet, no emails, nothing like that. Because when you're in mission, especially on the ship, when you're on a mission, you can't really like divulge and let your family member know
yeah.
where you're going, because then that you're sacrificing the mission or something.
Yeah.
Because
It's gotta be secret.
yeah, it's got to be a big secret. And with a crew of our ship has 3,000 people.
That's a lot of people
That's a lot of
that you're
people.
gonna be put in danger.
Yeah. So that was the hardest part actually of that happening. But we only stayed for 3.5 months on water
And then came back.
and came back
Wait, to the state or to Japan?
to Japan. So we were
Japan.
forward deployed in Japan. Our ship is based in Japan, so we were always there. What we did was always just circling the Pacific Ocean and doing exercises with Japan or South Korea, like a lot of the countries. I mean, they still do it now.
And okay, wow, you know what? Bro, you brave. No, bro, it's just okay. You're 18 years old.
Yeah.
You live in the Philippines. You're going to the States, and then you decide, okay, I want to go to the military. And you go to the military. You get 2021. You get a wife, and then now you go again. So let me ask you, your friends, especially your friends, your family, and other, family members that they had a dream of going to the States, but they ended up staying in the Philippines. Them seeing you go in the military, what did they say?
Yeah, everybody was proud that I was doing that, and for me, even thinking about it now, it was such a great experience. Yeah,
So you ended up staying there for 4 years.
4 years in the military, 3 years in Japan.
7 years in total.
No, three of
okay.
the 4 years in
Three-
Japan.
And what happens after the 4 years?
After the 4 years, I go back to the US because I knew I wanted to do music. I got exposed to DJing when we were in Japan. It was so cool because a lot of the brands that make the equipment for DJing, they're kind of based in Japan, like Vestax,
Oh yeah, that's true.
Pioneer,
That's true. That's
DJ.
true. That's true. Yeah.
And I was exposed to that almost every day. You just go to the store and you could try it out. And I had friends who would make music, and we were into DJing. And the Japanese DJ culture is so good. It's so big. So it really captured my attention for that. Then I decided I wanted to do that too. So it was already kind of set for me that I wasn't gonna stay in the military
For long.
for long. Yeah, I wanted to do that. I was still thinking of going to recording school, go back to the US and
Because you were still young,
Yeah,
23 or 24.
Yeah, I was only 22 when I got out. So there was still that hope. I mean, I would say in an alternate reality, I would have stayed and did something else, and I think I would have been successful in the military, because you have to stay 20 years to retire.
Oh yeah.
So even if I stayed all 20 years, I would have retired by the time I was 38, 39. But it would have
20 years.
20 years. So if you join when you're 18, 19 years
Yeah,
old, then 20 years,
38,
then
yeah,
you're only 38 if you retire.
Wow. And
But-
let me just ask. Okay, you have mentioned the hardest time for you. One of the hardest time was you leaving your wife by that time behind, right? So when you guys, after 3 months, you guys staying in waters, you guys came back to Japan, right? How was it? Like, did you bring your wife to Japan as well, or she just stayed in the Philippines?
Yeah, she just stayed in the Philippines, so I was waiting for my U.S. citizenship
Citizenship.
at the time, and I already knew I was going out. By the time we got married, I only had like maybe a year and a half left in my contract, so it's like okay, I could bring her to Japan, but like it doesn't really like make sense. Like she should just like continue her school here in the Philippines and do that. Then once I go back to the States, I could file for her petition
To go
to go to the US, and she did after like she came to the US in 2004, like maybe a year after I came back
from Japan.
from Japan.
Beautiful, beautiful. Wow, beautiful story, brother.
Yeah.
I didn't even know. Like, that's what I love about podcasts. You get it, like, just as sitting down here, getting to know. I mean, to know each other, and definitely to kind of inspire other people. I mean, as well, because I think, why did I say like you were so brave? Because other people that they would be leaving the Philippines, going to the States, they would love to have just a chill life, like work here, get your money, do whatever, you get it. But I think you went to like a different level, which is okay. I'm here. I'm going to the military. I'm gonna like all these. I think all these experience. So, do you think you making this decision, going to the military, have changed you like like in a way that when you came back, you were like more mature. You were like what happened? What were you, or how did it affect when when you decided to, okay, 4 years finish and then I'm gonna continue with my life?
Definitely, like it totally changed me. Like before, I'm still shy right now, but like before I was like super shy, and we can't even like if we like say if we just knew each other, like I won't like talk to you or say hi,
yeah,
like
yeah.
I'll just be sitting in the corner. But after the military, I really came out of my shell and like really learned how to like of course you're
Interact
like
with
an
people.
adult and like you have to work with people, so you get to like talk to different sorts of people. And traveling, like when you're in the Navy, you just travel. So by the time like we were 19, we were already traveling across Southeast Asia, Singapore, Japan, of course, Korea, Hong Kong, all the way to like Guam, Australia. So we like by the time we were like like super young, we were already like well traveled
Yeah.
and exposed to different
Cultures,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it was great. If it was like vlogging was a thing back then
Yeah.
already, we're like
You would be the
Yeah.
Mr. Beast would be.
yeah.
That's true, but
Yeah.
that's true.
Although we were like, we were in Japan, we had like, the technology, like we had like small handheld cameras already. Like we were so ahead of things. So we were already documenting a lot of that stuff too. But there wasn't like a channel like say YouTube to kind of like push it out there. I wish it did.
Bro,
but
did you ever thought about opening a channel and talk about military?
I do. I mean, some people do it already. Of
Oh,
course,
yeah? I haven't-
like from my time, it's different
Different than
from what
now.
it is now. Yeah,
No,
totally
no.
different.
No. So, is there any possibility that, like, this is just like an example, that they can call you back? No.
Not anymore. So after you leave, say I left after 4 years, there's like an 8-year window that I'm subject to recall. If there's a war, like
War,
a major war, and they needed your service again, they could call you back. But after those 8 years passed, they can't call you back anymore.
Wow. Okay. See, guys, I didn't need, because I haven't been to the States, so I don't know how, like, all these thing works. Like, you being a teenager wants to go, like, to go to the military. So when you came back, you didn't stay at your parents' house anymore.
I stayed with my mom again. At the same time, like like everything's changed. Like I've saved up a lot of money. Because in the military you don't really like unless like we were spending a lot of money, but like you weren't spending any money on rent or food or like but so we were saving a lot of money. But at the same time, like it's the civilian life is totally different, so you still kind of like make some adjustments. So like I'd stay with my mom again, like find a job, buy a car, like so back to the normal like
Lifestyle.
route. But at the same time, like like I'm changed, and I have all these experiences now and knowledge that I got from those 4 years, and like my interest in music, it's like bigger than ever at the time. So
Yes. Oh, sorry. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, so I went to like the school that I wanted to. I wanted to take music, and at the time, like nursing was big. Like my mom was saying, like, "Oh, you should take," because part of in the U.S. military, like once you join, one of the benefits is they give you money to go to school. So my problem before of not having money to go to school,
It was
like
solved already.
like I already have my money.
Yeah.
Like they gave me like you have money, then you could pick whatever school. Then if you enroll full time, they send you your money through your bank. So it's like yeah.
Wow.
So I went to school, then I wanted to take music, so I took up music instead of
Through
nursing.
military, right?
That's
Through the
Through
right.
military.
Yeah, instead of nursing. Like I didn't even then. Like I'm still like a rebel. Like when a lot of like
Filipinos,
Filipinos,
yeah. Until now, right?
they were like,
Yeah.
if their parents say like, oh, you need to be a doctor, you need to be like an engineer or something, and of course, if your parents are paying for your education, you would, just oblige and like say like, okay, like I'll do it for my parents. But since I made my own money
Yeah.
and I have my own budget, I'm like, I had the courage
To do
to
it.
just do what I want to do.
What you want, yeah. So you wanted to ask something?
Yeah. So I'm trying to like moving over to I guess the next segment of your story, right? Because I don't. The thing is, I didn't really want to tell Calvin too much about like you.
No, that's good.
Yeah. So it was cool to hear like that story before you really started sinking into like music and then the arc of your whole DJing career. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess we could start on that.
Yeah. So you went, in the military, you decided now to do music while your parents wanted for you to do something. And then when you graduated, like that's when you decided like to become like a DJ or producer or
Yeah,
or-
still like so when I was in school, like I'd always like do projects and stuff. And after I finished my music school, I still had more money to spend on like more education.
Mhm.
Like okay, like I'll
study again.
I'll study again, and ended up I tried to find something that would kind of match and be compatible with the music
Industry?
part. So I took art. Like I took graphic design and graphic art because I thought, I'm like a fan of just like album covers
Yeah.
too, and like you read magazines, and it's like, oh, this is something somebody designed all
They-
these. I'm
yeah.
like, okay, like I'm gonna do that, and if I'm gonna do my own projects, I should design my own projects. Say whatever, like T-shirts or like a CD cover.
Mhm,
So I learned all that too at the time. So I was like, now that everybody, like even at the time, I was still getting a pushback from family, like what are you gonna do with all these, like like some music, like what are you gonna do for work after you finish school, or like graphic design, what are you gonna do after that? It didn't make sense until later on,
Right, later,
but
yeah.
because right now everything is art, like like
You
art.
need it. You can't.
Yeah, you need like before we had to go to school for video editing and like graphic design. Now like all the tools are here. It's easy for everybody.
Just download it.
Yeah, so everybody's like doing it now,
Yeah.
and now it makes more sense to have the foundation of doing that, because then now it's normal.
And you became full time like a DJ?
Not until later, but I was doing music. So I was doing audio engineering, like working like the mixers,
Working
for,
with some labels and
for
stuff?
like concerts and stuff. Then at some point I was taking graphic design, right? So at some point I got linked up with Todd Rumble and DJ Qbert, and they were like big heroes in the DJ community, especially in the Bay Area. For some reason, I'm very fortunate. They like I was just watching them on videos like prior years.
Prior, and
The
then
next
later-
thing you know, like
Yeah.
I kind of manifested it, like being fans of them, but I didn't realize I'd be working for my heroes.
Yeah. And for how long you work with them?
I worked with them. So I started as an intern, like, and it was a weird story because I'd already buy their products, but I'd go to record shops, buy a record by Slipmat, buy their DVDs, but I never went to their website. For some reason, I voted for DJ Qbert on America's Best DJ site. So it was like a polling thing, and people vote for your favorite DJs, and be, they will be announced as America's Best DJ for that year. So I voted for DJ Qbert, and for some reason I got to their site, Tadrumbo, and they were looking for somebody to help them with their art and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, that's what I do right now.
And then you join.
Then I sent them my stuff. Like I told them like, oh, I'm interested in doing this, and I'm like super happy because like, oh, like this.
Someone I used to buy CD.
Yeah, so it's like DJing and like doing art. Like, oh, that's the perfect thing. Like I really want to do that. So and they saw my work, and I met up with them, and they gave me my chance, and like I started working with them as an intern, like just helping them on events and like certain projects. As an intern, of course, you just get to do like whatever and help the company. Then there was a point that I got tired of just working. I was working like corporate events at the time, so it's still like like part of that audio things. I was working corporate events. Then at some point, like I got tired of him. Like I don't want to do that anymore. I'll just focus on DJing. This was like maybe 2010, and me and Tenes were talking about that last night. My daughter at that time was like turning 1, and
By 2010.
By 2010, and most people, not everybody, but like most people would be so afraid of making that jump because as a father and you have to continue to work, secure your family and provide for your family. But I'm like, I'm just gonna quit my job and like follow what I want to do and not be scared just because I have.
It shows that you have never been scared from the time that you arrived in the States.
Yeah,
like everything that you did. You took a risk.
Yeah, always taking a risk, always like making big jumps. Making big decisions, which, like even right now, like we talk about it and I look back at it, it's like there's really no wrong decisions. Even if at that time when you're at the situation, like, oh, it feels hard and challenging, but like, looking back and connecting it, like it was
looking back, would you still do the same thing again?
Yeah.
Is there anything that you would probably change?
Probably nothing, but maybe I'll invest more money in Apple or something. Then we'll be super rich right now, like because a lot of that stuff like I was already exposed to, like investing and all the companies when they were still small. Like I wish I'd invested in Amazon or eBay or Apple. Apple's my thing. Like I wish I bought Apple stocks. We'd be super rich right now, right? Yeah, that's the only thing. But everything else that happens, I'll probably still make the same decisions and stuff because that's why we're here. Like I believe in how all things are meant to be, and like we are where we're at, because we're supposed to be here, regardless of what happened. Yeah.
This is just beautiful, brother. Like, wow, yeah. It's because I see myself. I mean, I think in you. How do I see? Even though we have like different stories, but it's just like I left my country when I was 13 years old. Went to South Africa, Namibia, and then came to the Philippines, and literally risk everything. And even though people that don't really agree with some of my decisions or even family members, it is just like what makes me happy at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I can go sleep, put my head on my pillow, wake up the next day. I'm happy. Like I did what I wanted. I didn't do because, okay, this person told me like especially like my dad. My dad was like a type of dad is just like, it makes you happy. You want to do it? Are you sure? Go do it.
Yeah.
Did you get it? And that, I think it kind of bring, how do I say? It gives you courage to do things. Because I remember, like, an example, coming to the Philippines was my decision.
Yeah.
It was never my parents' decision.
Yeah.
My dad didn't know where was the Philippines. My mom,
Wow.
my mom, like especially my mom, didn't even know where was the Philippines. The only thing is like, Dad, I have a friend in the Philippines. My college friend, my high school friend. He's living in the Philippines, and he told me about this country. My dad went do some research. He was like, "Yo, there's typhoon there. There's earthquake. Are you sure?" And I was like, "Yes, I want to go."
Yeah.
Bro, I came here. 2014, June 16.
That's great.
I've been in like
Yeah.
10 years and
Wow.
2 weeks already. After like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they had one of the worst typhoon in Batangas,
Wow.
Typhoon
Yeah.
Yolanda. Bro,
That was crazy.
that was
I still remember that.
that was crazy. Imagine an African guy never experienced natural disaster, never saw what is flooding like, never saw what is earthquake like, never saw what is typhoon like, and then you coming here, seeing all of this, bro. 3 to 4 days without electricity. My parents, they couldn't, like my dad, they didn't know nobody in the country. They didn't know nobody. Like they didn't even have my friend's number.
Yeah. How old were you at that time?
Okay, so right now I'm 30. I'm gonna see. They're gonna say my age now. How old was I?
But young. You were still young. Yeah.
I was like 19 or 16.
You're still young.
Yeah,
So you're
I was
very
young. So when that happened, and then it comes after 4 days, my mom and my dad, they were like able to talk to me. Come home. Come home. We're gonna buy you a ticket. Come home. And in my head, it was like my dad always told me, do what makes you happy. And I wanted like to show like to my dad, yo, I'm a man. I can handle this. Because I felt like me coming here, my own decision. Now that unfortunately this bad situation happened. Me going home, I would feel like a loser. Do you get it? I just said no, Dad. I'm sorry. I don't want to come home.
Yeah.
I can stay. My dad was like, are you sure? Yes. But my mom, you know how moms like
Yeah,
how
of
mothers.
course.
No, come on. Like, no, I'm not coming. I'm gonna stay.
Yeah.
And it has been like now what 10 years that I've
Yeah.
been. So I see myself on you. Even though like it's a different path, but I think it's just like the courage,
Yeah.
like always putting things into risk, always like want more, trying to work as much as possible and just try to be happy.
Yeah.
And I think like brother, thank you so much. I think for sharing this with us. Definitely, I'm pretty sure that the people that are watching, I hope you guys can also learn from Charles' experience as well, because in life you just need to be brave.
Yeah.
You just need to be brave. Otherwise, you will be in the same position every year, while other people they're growing up. It's because you're scared. You're scared of making the next move. You're scared of maybe I don't even know, like buy something, and you're just gonna be in the same position. So, guys, as much as possible, do what makes you happy. And brother, how often do you come to the Philippines?
So it's been 2 years. Prior to that, like it took us 12 years before we came back. So my last vacation before I went on vacation, like it was 2002. I was visiting my wife like every time that time. But then after she came to the States, it took 12 years.
So you took you took her to the States.
Yeah.
So different phase of you already.
Yeah.
You went younger, teenager, goes to the military, come back, try to do everything that makes you happy, music, meeting your idols. Now, here comes responsibility. You are now having your own family.
Yeah.
How was that phase?
It was good. It's a totally different feeling and responsibility having a young family, like having a daughter, then eventually having a son. But it was fun. Like like you said, like I've never like just been afraid of it. Just I do my best. At the same time, it's also when I think of it, when you bring a person into the world, like having like a son or a daughter, I feel like I have to give up some of my space because the more people there is in our world,
Mm-hmm.
there's less space. So I felt like I have to give up some of my space, but not really give up what I want to do. Like
Mm-hmm.
say if you live in a room like this and you have a lot of stuff
Take out.
to make room for your baby,
Baby,
like
yeah.
you have to take some of your stuff
Yes, true.
to make room for like a baby. So it gave me that perspective of just you know um thinking deeper, and like maybe I'm still selfish. I would say I'm still selfish. I think a lot of the stuff that I want to do, but at the same time there's that factor that I have to do it for my family too. They're always
Mm-hmm.
gonna be a factor in what we do.
Yeah. So like family first.
Yeah, so like yeah, it took us like a long time to go on vacation because maybe my family's not you know ready for vacation. I'm like it's a different type of planning when you're
Mm-hmm.
you're traveling with a full set of
First,
family,
yeah, yeah,
full set of
yeah.
family instead of just traveling on your own
So your kids were born in the
in the
States.
States.
What was like the first? Okay, after 12 years they came here. What was like the first reaction when you brought them to the families? I mean, to the Philippines.
I brought them in 2014. So my daughter at the time was 5. My son was like less than a year old,
Mm-hmm.
like 8 months. So
Oh yeah, see, they don't remember that.
yeah,
And-
so total different.
Yeah,
But
yeah, they don't remember that much.
a lot of my friends were going to the States at the times, and that kind of like excited me to go back to the Philippines.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, there's like I'm still keeping up with what's happening here,
Mhm.
but at the same time, like, oh, it's like
Your being here, it's different.
it's like Philippines is different.
Yeah.
It's like from what I know. So when we came back, it really got me excited.
Mm-hmm. So right now, are they in the Philippines or in the States?
They're here with me right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So after I did all my stuff in the States
Mhm,
with Todd Rumble and stuff. Like did my work, like kind of like build up some credibility,
Mm-hmm.
and then I went here for vacation. Then planted the seeds of idea. I'm like, oh, maybe I should move back to the Philippines. Then at some point, like I told my friends, like I'm leaving the company. And
When was that?
I told them I was leaving in 2015. Then we officially moved to the Philippines in 2016, like early 2016. Moved here in Makati,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
which was a great era too. Like I talked about it, like with friends. Like that was a great era. Like you were here, and there was a lot of like exciting things happening in the Philippines at that time. Even like as early as when you came, like
Mhm.
2014, there's
Sure.
a lot of exciting things
Yeah.
happening, and that was like eye opening too.
And what about? I mean, so I mean, your kids like right now they're living. I mean, they're living here, and I mean, and do they get? I mean, they go to the States. How often, like, if they go to the States?
No, I'd like, we lived here. We lived in the States when they were born. Then we
Move here
moved here as
2016?
a family,
Yeah, 2016.
and that was like another big jump for me. Just like you just don't pick up your
Pick up,
family and
bring
like,
it,
bring everything. Like we brought everything that we have from the States. Little what we have, but it's still a lot
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
to the Philippines. I shipped like maybe 25 balikbayan boxes from the States, like every month.
Yeah.
Like like for a good, like when I decided like we were moving 2015, like maybe like 9-10 months, like I was sending boxes every
Boxes
month.
every month, yeah.
Like like, oh, we don't need this right now, like send it to the Philippines. My wife still had family here in La Union, and I had my friends here in Manila, so I was sending my boxes to their houses and stuff.
Mhm,
Like
mhm, mhm. So wait, they're officially living in the States or in the Philippines?
right now we're back in the States.
You guys are back in the States.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, he's like one of the main reasons why I'm here. But then we got this is the part I want to hear about. So when you came back here, and this is right before Red Bull, right? So like I want to know what that was like. Like, you have your whole family here, you're dealing with like moving back to the Philippines from the States. Like where did you find the time, and what did you have to do? Like your training, all that kind of stuff before the competition.
I mean, before that, I think the main one of the main decisions of moving back here, I was just like tired of like
States.
of the states. It was like I felt like everything was turning for the worse at the time. Like Trump was happening in 2016. He became
Mhm.
president. Um, California was expensive. Like just the cost of living.
Mhm.
Like there was like a study, like an article sometime that year, like 2015, that if you were living in the Bay Area and if you made like $100,000, you were still in the poverty line, like
Wow.
barely surviving it. You know,
Wow.
so and I'm like so even if you and to make that amount of money, you're working yourself like every day, just working every day, and I don't know how that feels anymore, but like I didn't want to do that anymore. And I also felt like a lot of good energy here in Asia, and especially in the Philippines was happening at the time. Like, oh,
Mhm.
I think that's the next frontier, especially for what I was trying to do, DJing
Mhm.
and music.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
oh, it's exciting there. So like like I'm gonna move there and make my moves.
I think Dennis, you mentioned about something about competition. I don't.
Yeah.
What kind of competition was that?
So prior to moving to the Philippines, I was like doing like a lot of like DJ competitions, DJ battle, like basically, how do I put this in layman's term? So you a lot of like people who do it take a song and you manipulate
Mm-hmm.
those songs and the beats and the sound with the turntable and make something new out of it. And in a competition, you gotta just make the better composition and the better technical stuff. Then that's gives you accolades, like, oh, like he's doing his thing
This was, I mean, back in the states.
back in the States. So even when I came back here, I kind of brought that. I mean, people are doing it here, but I think it elevated that game over here,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, oh, like Philam came back
Mm-hmm. We
and
can.
he
Yeah.
like we're
You
gonna do
brought all
this
the experience that you. Yeah.
experience and the scene. Like I was bringing like records back here and equipment, and kind of like built a community of like DJs
DJs.
here
Yeah.
at the time. And a lot of them, like I'm very happy, like they're like successful right now here
Yeah,
in the
man. Yeah,
Philippines,
man.
just because of like whatever we were trying to do
And
at that
where
time.
and where does tennis comes in? Oh, by the way, how did you guys meet?
Oh, wait. Can we talk about the competition first?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
Okay.
I was doing a bunch of like projects here, like many different things. I was in the maker community. We did maker fair. I was doing a lot of like DJ stuff here. Then it came time to like compete again, like, and one of I think one of my main goals at the time was just there hasn't been like a world DJ champion that's based in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that would be such a cool thing to accomplish and make the country proud, I guess, or at least the community
Mm-hmm.
proud. And I think that would inspire people. Um, I didn't get to do it, but like I was trying. So
Well,
I started competing again.
what was the name of the competition?
So I was doing IDA, and then there was an opportunity to do Red Bull, and Red Bull had a competition that was running at the time. It was already on its 8th year when I did it, because
Okay.
in the States, when the competition started, it was like by invite only. Like you don't really get to compete. By the time I got to the Philippines, you're able to submit like a video online. If there was a competition happening in your country, you get to compete in your country, which I tried to represent the Philippines,
So
so
you,
I submitted to compete in the Philippines.
Mhm.
Then I got picked to do it, and then the competition is pretty much mixing music. It's called Red Bull Tree Style.
Mhm.
You have 15 minutes to rock the crowd by playing at least three different styles. So if it was like hip hop, rock, or like electronic
Yeah.
music, or like soul, funk, whatever, you just have to have at least three different styles of music in your 15-minute set and rock the party and wow the crowd. And
Mhm.
hopefully they like your set better than the other
There are
DJs.
DJs
Then I eventually like won that
in the Philippines.
in the Philippines. So I was like
Wow,
the
okay.
2017 Red Bull Freestyle
I didn't know
Philippine
that.
champion.
Yeah, bro. He
Yeah.
was on CNN and everything.
Yeah.
This guy.
Yeah, it was such a big thing. But like
Uh-huh.
2017 was like before that year, like 2017 was so big for me here in the Philippines.
So you win in the Philippines
Yeah.
because you said like for you, I mean, first you gotta compete in your country.
Yeah.
So you win in the Philippines, and then what was the next step?
Then you get to represent the Philippines wherever the world championship was happening. And our world championship was happening in Poland.
Okay.
So yeah, we
And then you went to Poland.
I went to Poland and competed. I was meant to be the world champion. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, I mean like I was meant to be, but like it didn't happen. You know, but like now I've accepted it.
But
But it would have been so cool to have won the
Won-
championship. I think it would have made everybody proud.
no, but I think you already made it
Yeah.
because, wow. Imagine like, okay, 18 years old, go to the States, go to the military. I love music, I love engineering, I love sound. Get a family, not happy or whatever, everything is being saturated. Go to the Philippines, win as the best DJ, let's say, right?
Yeah.
And then go outside, represent the country.
Yeah. 2017 was big. Like he was talking about CNN. I was in CNN not for DJing. That was like the maker community. We did like the first maker fair here in BGC at Mind Museum. That was 2017, and we were like like the footage is still out there and stuff. So we got interviewed by CNN and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Then the Red Bull thing happened.
By that time, you guys already knew each other.
No, we didn't know each other.
Yeah, because what was my question was supposed to be like, if you guys knew each other, you guys that were home by that time, him leaving everything here, coming here, like now he's getting well known, being recognized. So it's just like, how did you guys back in the States felt about it? Like, I mean, the Filipinos, American. I'm talking about like knowing. Oh, but I think I should have asked someone that I think like I knew you before.
I mean, back home, since like I had like some credibility in the scene, like a lot of like my friends from the States were happy too. Like like because it was such like a worldwide thing. Like by the time I won in the Philippines and everybody knew about it, I like like you said, like I already made it. Like I felt like I won the whole thing.
Yeah. Do you think you winning that you have encouraged your other Filipinos to come back to the Philippines and maybe just to try something new?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, people still talk about that. It's been like so long now, like 7 years, 8 years has passed, and I'm happy that people still remember like what happened, what I did, and they still talk to me like that was like like that they were there, and like they were like people who watched it live, like they still remember it. That was my phone, sorry.
Oh yeah, okay. I thought it was the table. Yeah, it's okay.
I guess people were inspired like by what I did. And that's a great feeling, like when that people still remember it and they were inspired by it. And what's crazy is if you were a DJ and you're Filipino, even if you were not in the Philippines, people knew about it. That was such
great thing.
Yeah.
It's just so. I think do you think it's because you guys really support each other a lot, especially when a Filipino, which is overseas, representing the country well? Because okay. I see, I mean, I think this is like a clear that everybody knows. I keep on saying that because I think it's one of the things that I have seen, like, while I'm here in the Philippines, is the same what happened with Easy Meal, right? So it's just like, he came representing the country and all Filipino, like hugged him, like, supported him, show him love and stuff. So, and I feel like this is something that it's in the in the Filipinos,
I think there's that sense of Filipino
Yeah.
pride. Like I
Yeah.
really like that
Yeah.
pride thing. Shout out Francis M Clothing.
What's the name again?
Francis M Clothing.
Francis M.
Yeah.
Double XL, please.
Yeah. Let's send some to Calvin.
Yeah, please send it. Send it. Send it. Yeah.
So he needs to represent the Philippines.
Yeah, for sure. Please send some. We're waiting, brother. Yeah.
But yeah, there's some sense of Filipino pride, but at the same time, like a lot of it's like on like the music community too, like the DJ community is so like tight.
Tight. Yeah.
Where like I could go to any city right now and I'd know somebody because we have that DJ connection. Like,
yeah.
oh, you're a DJ. Like, when you visit our like city, even when I was here at that time, every time there's a DJ that would visit the Philippines, we would host them. Like, they'll know that I'm here.
Yeah. Charles, DJ blah blah is coming to the Philippines. Yeah.
They'll be like, what's there to do? Like, where do we hang out? Where can we jam? Like, where can we buy records? What artists to check out. So it was like a lot of like that too.
And how do you see the DJ industry like right now in the Philippines?
The Philippines, I think it's the pandemic has changed it. In
a better way or in a good way?
I think it's still good. I won't say it's bad, but it's different. Different from like
before.
Yeah, like before. And during the pandemic, it was a thought like, do we ever go back to normal or I'm not sure. I think it's changed. Definitely changed. I wouldn't say bad, but definitely different. I think that was part of the decision for me to move back to the States because everything like once the pandemic, I was like so focused on my goals here before the pandemic, but then everything for all of us when the pandemic happened, everything halted and you sat at home and thought of your priorities and what are you gonna do next or when is it gonna like open up again and stuff like that.
So you come to the Philippines every year? Like you stay like for how long you stay? Like 2 months?
No, like when we were leaving here, we were just
now that you guys went back. Now that I've
come back after 2 years, we're probably gonna come back every year.
Every year, yeah?
Every year. Like this trip, it's been like 2 months.
How does the Philippines looks after the pandemic? Like now that you left, you have been without 2 years.
The same.
It's still the same, yeah?
I think it's the same. Just different people. Because I think the energy is the same, but it's just we've grown older after 4 years.
Yeah.
Then a lot of the younger people are like grown now and they could do what we were doing back then.
When you look at the youth right now, comparing to your youth, what do you miss the most? Or what are like the youth like here in the Philippines? What are they missing that you guys used to do before?
When we were kids, we were just able to run around the streets. We didn't have these big buildings here in BGC. BGC was like, grass, nothing.
Yeah.
But I was in Manila, growing up in Manila in
which area of Manila?
Caloocan City, but Grace Park.
Caloocan.
Because Caloocan is separated by north and south. So
I have been to Caloocan. I have been to Caloocan before.
So I'm living on Grace Park, border of Manila. So I'm like always crossing Caloocan in Manila. We could just run around streets like as young as like 9 years old. Like and same like growing up, you'd know how to like just play basketball on the street and like tricycle and like cars are like thing. You guys
so basketball has been a huge thing since.
Yeah. And when we were young, like basketball, like PBA was still like super new, and we were able to watch like a lot of like the great players, like it's such a thing. Like every neighborhood, even up to now, like basketballs.
I mean, everywhere in the Philippines, you're gonna find the court. Yeah.
But like we were just like running around, but like we would hustle. Like you'd sell like newspapers, like gather newspapers, gather bottles, or
Oh, you guys also did that?
yeah, we
I
did
did
that.
that too.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, like at my place, I mean, especially when we have like, I mean, me and my brothers, we will keep all the bottles, and there was this store. It's either we're gonna bring it, and then we buy things straight from the store, like maybe like let's say fried chicken with fries. We used to do that.
So we did that a lot of that in Manila. I mean, the different municipalities at the time, like
Oh, it was not barangay? Oh, it's the same thing, right?
yeah. I mean, barangays are part of like the cities, but then I think at the time when we were kids, there were only 4 cities in Metro Manila. So Manila, Quezon City, Caloocan, and Pasay. That
No
would-
BGC, no Parañaque,
yeah.
no Las Pin.
Yeah, and they were still there, but
Yeah.
they weren't cities yet.
See, we're not. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're not. So imagine like maybe buying a land here in BGC that time was not expensive, bro.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, even then, like BGC wasn't open yet because it used to be Fort Bonifacio. Only like the military, like people lived here, and maybe some businesses, but it wasn't open like this.
But now, Alicante to sa
Yeah,
BGC.
now it's totally different.
City,
So
sana
yeah.
all.
So by the time we came back for vacation in 2014, it was like BGC was already BGC, and we're like, wow,
Wow.
it's totally different. Even now, when we came back,
Mhm.
like after like 2 years, it's changed again.
Yeah. And I mean, for your kids, where do they prefer? Like, to stay in the Philippines or in the States?
I'm glad my kids were able to spend, being born in in the US. I'm glad they were able to spend some
Time
part of their childhood here in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
So they were able to see, like, what's real here in the Philippines. Then during the pandemic, they were able to spend time in the province. So to live in the city and live in the province, it's totally different. And they were able to experience that and learn Ilocano and just being a local. Then coming back to the States, which is weird. When we came back, even if they were born in the States,
It felt like this.
and they experience what we experience as immigrants. So they, even if they were U.S. citizens, it was them coming back after 6 years because they never went on vacation to the States when we were leaving here. So it took like 6 years for them to come back, and everything was different. And they were like, wow, it's like, this is the US. So they felt like an immigrant.
Yeah.
Which,
So it's like they had like a reverse culture shock.
yeah, in reverse. Yeah, so it was that's such a unique experience, I think. Where like you're a US citizen, but you feel like an immigrant in your country.
Yeah. Do you think that's because of the society, or just you as a person in your head? You're gonna.
I think it's person to person thing, But I think it's a good experience to just like travel and like experience things.
Like me, I went home 2022 for the first time. So I came 2014. I say like what 8 years without going home, bro. When I went home, I was like, yes, like I didn't live this, but I didn't feel. Look, what's crazy is I went home, but I didn't feel like I was home.
Yeah.
I just feel like I'm traveling.
Yeah. No, every time when we were living here, every time I came back to the US, I didn't really like want to like move back to the US
I didn't feel
anymore. And until the pandemic happened, then when the pandemic happened, we were just sitting at home, like, thinking about stuff. You're not working, and the stuff you want to do, events and stuff you can't do. So I'm like, oh, what am I gonna do next?
You didn't do like
we were streaming.
Yeah. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah,
a lot of people they would like do streaming.
Our friends from Kumu, like we were streaming on that platform. And
Kumu was big during pandemic, bro.
yeah, that was our thing. Shout out Kumu.
Yeah, shoot, bro. People they made it like. I mean, Tenes, you were not here, but bro, people they were buying cars over Kumu.
Yeah,
like. People that would be going like on this competition. I don't like if you still remember. Like there was like this competition. You have to go for some hours, like every day, And then if you win, if you're the first one with the one I think the way like what is it? What was? It's not a
Like
coin. Is it a
gifts,
man? Yeah,
diamonds.
the diamonds. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you are the one with the highest diamond, you get all these premium like cars and stuff like that. And then Leica came. Do you remember Leica, right?
Yeah.
Bro, people.
So the pandemic was kind of cool.
It was
too,
cool for some people, bro.
for some people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like-
because if you know how to make money,
Yeah.
you'll still make money.
You still make money because there were some stores you would buy iPhone with Leica.
Yeah.
With the money in Leica. I remember my girlfriend, she bought an iPhone 12 by that time with Leica money. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. And bro, they would just be like random people send you like, I don't know, 4,000. But it was big that time, bro. It was big that time. That's why I'm like, I wish Kumu was back now. I mean, like now people, they like, I mean, Kumu is still there, of
Still
course.
there.
It's still there. I mean, Leica. Sorry, I meant Leica because I think it's not working. I think
Yeah, I don't
doesn't-
remember what happened
yeah.
to it. Yeah.
as far as I remember, I even have my money there too. so, but now like everyone is just like what? YouTube, TikTok, and stuff like that. And brother, like for you, that's I mean, you keep on like you stay in the stage, you hear, you stay in the stage, you hear, right? So from your own experience, like you, I would just say, going to the stage at a younger age, right? For the Filipinos that are like probably just like watching us, what advices would you give to them, knowing that he's going overseas, so it's not like the same culture. It's probably different culture. He or she might have like ups and down. What are like advices to you?
I think it's different for every person, every situation. I'm fortunate that I was in the situations I was in. I would say something general would just like like me and you talked about a while ago is not to be afraid of opportunities. Like if a opportunity presents itself, you better be ready and and grab that opportunity. Um, Never be afraid of meeting people because you'll never know. Like we all meet for some reason. We'll jump like by the time like the pandemic Philippines opened up, like I decided like I'm gonna move back to the States because I didn't want to like miss out on opportunities. So it was like a big jump again. Like I'll move back to the States. Not as big as like moving everything that we have because we left some of our stuff here, but we moved like 8 luggages, go back to the States. That's where I met Jeanette. Like I felt like I don't want to live in California anymore. Like what other cities should I go to? And I was already DJing and I thought like Vegas.
So the family was in California, and then you went to Vegas, or
We were in
everybody?
the Philippines. Yeah, we were in the Philippines. So I was traveling back and forth. Then I thought of it like we should move back. Then I picked to move to Las Vegas, which is like right now is entertainment capital. And for what I do, doing events and DJing, it was probably like the best city for me to move to at the time when I moved 2 years ago. And that's how I met Tines. We're just in the scene, like
Crazy,
like
man.
the Vegas scene is like what I really like about the DJ scene in Las Vegas was even for me, somebody new that's trying to get in work in their city is everybody was so welcoming and accepting. They were like, oh, you're here now, like you're moving here, like just hang out, if you have any questions, like we'll show you the ropes and stuff. But people weren't like, oh man, like don't move to our city, you'll take some of work.
Like gatekeeping. Yeah.
Because what's good in Vegas was like, sure, there's a lot of DJs, but there's a lot of venues too, and there's different types of work. So you just kind of have to find your own lane, and you'll find work, as a DJ.
So that's how you met Tines?
I met Tines through a friend, but at the same time, I've heard of Tines. Like Tines has done great work in Vegas, so he's like one of the guys. When I talk to people, like, oh, you should meet Tines.
Tines, yeah.
So I kind of sought them out, and we were hanging out at some club, and one of the DJs we're hanging out with, she was like, "Oh, I'm spinning at Area 15," which I was spinning at too. That's like kind of like my residency in Las Vegas. I'm spinning at Area 15 with with the crew, and that was Tines's event. So I knew I wanted to go and possibly like meet them.
Meeting, yeah.
Yeah. So I went. Then we at the end of the event, like we caught up outside, and we're like, and then he showed me what they were working on, like and they were like, "Oh, you should come to our headquarters." And I happened to live just walking distance of their headquarters in Las Vegas. So whenever I wasn't doing anything, I'd just walk to their office like every day. Almost every day we would just hang out.
So he's the one that convinced you to come to the
Yeah,
Philippines?
bro. I mean, it's so crazy, right? Like hearing all this stuff too. It's like, wow, bro. Like if all this stuff didn't happen, I wouldn't be here right now. I would have never met you, Calvin. You know what I'm saying? It's so crazy when you like backtrack everything, because it's cool to hear like, what other people were telling you, and then it was kind of like just meant to be. Dude, I remember that night so clearly, bro. I was like fucking faded, dude, at the end of the night. But I was like, my mind was already set on leaving already, and I was gonna do it a different way. But then after hearing him, like, cause he was listening to me, and then he was giving me insight, and so like. Even when I was drunk, I was like, in my head, I was like, damn, dude, like, I think it is the right choice. This definitely solidified it, because somebody is telling me that it's the right thing to do right now. And then, then I hit you up and I was like, hey, can you come by? Because like I was faded. So, hopefully we could talk like when I'm sober. Then he came, and then we were like on Google Earth. He was showing me around, like showing me so much stuff, bro. Like every question I had, he had an answer for it. And the more like we talked, the more it was like, bro, even whenever I would drop you off, like, we'd park and we'd just sit there for a while in the car and then just talk and just be like, I just kept asking him stuff, and he just kept giving me like all the right answers, bro. So it's like, damn, man, thank you, bro. Like when I really think about it, dude, it's like, wow. Yeah,
I think my tenure of living here in the Philippines, like, brought a lot of the stuff back too, because I was still, even coming from the pandemic, I was still so hyped about the Philippines. And I feel like part of my job is to always promote the Philippines. So like as a Phil-Am, like born and raised here and experienced things in different countries as a Filipino, everything comes back here in the Philippines. So I'm like, whenever I talk to somebody, say if we met in the US, like, oh, then you recognize that I'm Filipino, of course I'll talk about the Philippines, like, what's good. Not everything is perfect, but I always talk about like the good side, the good side of the Philippines. And that's what we talked about, and like, the stuff that we did here in the Philippines, like what's happening in the Philippines, what the future's gonna be like in the Philippines. Like we talked all about that, and that was, we're still like really hopeful that like a lot of like our dreams for the Philippines will materialize in the future.
Amen.
And that's where all like, as long as there's people talking about the Philippines and representing the Philippines and like really hoping for the best for the Philippines, I think it will happen.
So, I mean, okay, besides Tenes, so you would advise also other Filipinos, American, especially those that haven't been here. Maybe like even if it's not to come to like or having a business or whatever, just come and see what you're missing.
Yes.
Right? Just come and see.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I talked to a lot of like friends, like some of our friends in Vegas, like they've already reached out, like, oh, I'm gonna be there that year, sometime this year, like, like, oh, then I'll tell them like, I'll link you up with people that we know here in Manila. Then I'll ask them, when was the last time you were here? Then it'll be like, okay, like, you got it. It's time to come back,
Yeah, people just don't know, man. I wanted to ask you though, like, since we always had those talks and stuff like that, and I don't know if I asked you while you were here, but then what do you think of like what we've accomplished so far? Because I've been telling you, here's what I want to do, here's what I'm gonna do, and then just all the things that happen or whatever, and like just where we're at right now. Like what do you think, or do you have any like comments or any advice, or like what do you think of like our progress, I guess, so
That's
far?
a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say just like continue with what you're doing and not really like, like listening to like the noise sometimes, like especially say social media and stuff like that. um you're not always gonna hear what you want to hear. There's always gonna be
Yes.
like pushback and stuff like that. And like you said, like part of the courage is just going for what makes you happy and what you believe in. And I feel like if the vision is clear, like I'm glad like during the pandemic, sitting down and just focusing on like what's in front of you, being in the moment, like it makes everything clear, because there's not a lot of like the distraction when you're like always going out and stuff like that. As long as the vision is clear and you believe it, and part of it is like I believe in like the whole like universe thing. Like if you truly believe in your heart, the universe is gonna
Will
give it
make
to you.
to you, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing you always told me too was like, as long as your vision is clear, and then there's people who believe in you, you'll
Yeah.
be okay.
You'll be okay. Like for sure. Like
You always need wants to be surrounded with this kind of people. Eh?
I've
Yeah.
had, having like lived here and like did a lot of like the crazy stuff. Like when I was here in the Philippines, I never worked. I didn't have like a 9 to 5 and stuff. I only did DJing
DJ
and
events.
and projects.
Mhm.
And what I depended on was just me, my credibility, and how I treated people and how they know me. So yeah, it's good to know people, but it's how they know you too. Like like somebody might know you, but like they met you on your bad day, they're like, oh, that guy's that guy.
Yeah.
But that's why it's always good to put your best foot forward, especially when you're like meeting
Makes
somebody
me meeting.
meeting somebody new, because that first impression
Yeah.
would last.
You never know who is who.
Yeah. But
Mm.
yeah, we're all connected at some level. Like we were talking a while ago about brands and stuff. Like
Mhm.
we're like maybe like 1 or 2 person away from meeting somebody that could possibly like help us with what we're trying to do with our vision.
Wow.
So there's always
Beautiful.
that hope.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Because for me, just once again, brother, thank you so much for making time for us. You
For
know,
sure.
for I think showing us a different vision as well, sharing I think your experience, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people that watch me they're from the state. I mean Filipinos, American as well, or even Filipinos. I mean, or FW. I mean that are in the states as well. So I think you guys. I hope you guys have like learned something, and wherever you are right now, just know is what I mean. It was Charlie said, whatever you believe in, put all your energy, all your positivity, and at the end of the day, there's no way you wouldn't. I mean, you wouldn't get that. And brother, just before we go, is there anything any question I didn't ask? Anything you would like to promote? Anything you would like to talk about?
Like I'm not really like promoting anything right now.
Hmm.
Like this 2 month vacation has just been like
Yeah.
a vacation, which I
Oh,
definitely.
sorry, no, brother. Before we go, where did you go in these 2 months, like here in the Philippines?
Oh, 2 months.
Yeah.
I came back, met with you guys. I think for
Mhm.
like the first few days, like we were already hanging out. Then I went to Singapore. Like
Okay.
I love other countries too.
Yeah.
Like
See,
that's
yeah.
Singapore's one of my favorites. And sure, like go to Philippines, but
Mhm.
go to Singapore as well. Um, went to Baguio. Went to La Union where our farm is. Like
Yeah.
a few times we visit the farm and family over there.
I like La Union.
Yeah, La Union is
It's,
my
it's
favorite
good. Yeah.
place.
I like La Union.
Then I really like the music scene here in the Philippines. So
Mhm.
like I'd watch like by the time like I'm done with all the family stuff,
Mm.
I'd go to shows and just watch bands almost every night.
Oh yeah.
Like tonight I'm watching like another band.
Which band is playing today?
Tonight is Parokya ni Edgar playing at 12 Monkeys. There's kind of like their own venue. But which is something that's so unique in the Philippines. In Manila, it's like our music scene is so different. I don't think we have this energy in the States anymore. And I always tell the guys that I know, like I know a lot of local musicians here, and I always tell them like this is what I miss. And if there's one thing
You missing
I
food.
miss in Manila, it's the scene and it's the people, just going to shows and interacting with,
With the
like
people, yeah.
with the people and the musicians.
I haven't.
That's
I've been to some concerts here.
Yeah,
Once upon a time, like not that much.
yeah.
I think I should go more. I should go more. And how do you see the nightlife in the Philippines?
It's good.
Like the music itself, like when it comes like the DJing or the music itself, how do you see?
I mean, DJing has been like still good. I mean, but I feel like there's still like the best is yet to come. And I think it's more of like really promoting what we have here beyond the Filipino community. Because sometimes, like, yeah, like, you know, we always talk about it, like some of our musical artists, they would go to the States or like Canada, other countries, but it's always just marketed towards the Filipino community.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that, but I feel like it's time for us to expand and break through and be listened to by other people.
Other countries, yeah. That's true. Because I think it's the same that happens with some people. I mean, some singers from a country when they go out overseas, they mainly play for like I mean for the community. Because I mean, like everybody knows like how talented Filipinos are.
That's what I love about like the whole African movement, right? Like happening right now, Afrobeats and stuff. Now it's gone out of Africa.
Yeah.
Now everybody's listening to Afrobeats, you know, regardless.
Yeah.
I have the same dream for Filipino music because we have so much talent here in the Philippines. They just need to be promoted and heard beyond the Filipino community.
The Philippines. Yeah. Okay. So, brother, lastly, is there anything I didn't ask that you would like to tell us?
No, things.
Did I ask everything, Denise?
Yeah, I think we're good, man.
We're good?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure this... I love this podcast, actually. That's why, bro, like, guys, please... I would appreciate subscribe. Share the video with the whole barangay. I imagine like us being here, having great and amazing conversation, trying to, you know, so it's much. I mean, if you have watched until the end, like until here right now, on the comments below, just write done. That means you have watched until here. So like at least I know, and I'm gonna give you a shout out on the next video. Done, and I'm gonna give you a shout out on the next video, guys. Please, let's do it. Okay, and brother, before we go, do you have any message to the people watching us right now?
Just like peace and love, and like, you know, like follow your path.
Okay, brother. Once again,
thank you.
Thank you so much for your time, brother. We really appreciate it. Tenes, thank you so much as well.
Thank you.
And guys, thank you so much for watching until the end. You have watched the #1 podcast in the Philippines. We are Manila.knxn. And if you are a content creator looking for a studio, please let us know on the description below. Our emails is on the description below. Please just send us an email and we're going to get in touch with you. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe. May God bless you and see you guys on the next episode. We gone.